It's on.
No.
It's recording now.
No. Welcome!
As you can tell from the thumbnail and the title, this is a video for parents, family members of college students, of seniors from high school going into freshman year of college. If you are a student yourself going into adulthood, you can still watch the video. It might be useful for somebody you know. Or you might want to send it to your parents, but really it's for the parents. So I'm Ariana, or also known as Sabi on this channel, and I am not in college currently, but I graduated from Alabama A&M University in 2021, and then I went to a PWI, graduated from there in 2022, and we both went to HBCUs. Oh, and also I have a son myself. So while I'm not a parent of a college student, I do think a lot about the future. So I think that's one thing that might be helpful, or might be something that I might add to it. Having a son myself, that in reality one day he's going to college, or he might not go to college. He might choose something else. And also this is my college bestie.
Okay. I'm Linda. I also attended Alabama A&M University. I do not have a child quite yet. One day I may, and they may go to college as well. I'm just here to provide insight as a previous college student and add intel.
Also, I did want to say, originally my mother was going to be here as well to add the parent's perspective. So even though my mom's not here, I did send her some of the questions. So I'm going to repeat some of the things that she mentioned based off the questions, so that you guys can hear the perspective of an actual parent whose child went to college. And what I will say, my mom, she has 3 kids. I'm the last one. I'm the baby. All 3 of us did go to college, and 2 of us graduated, both with our masters. So that's my mom's perspective. My mom was also a college graduate herself, a little bit when she got older, but there's that. Okay, so what are some key steps parents should take to prepare their kids for college?
I would say in terms of preparing for college, I would say the living situation is one thing. Some people go to community college and they usually stay home, or even if they're going to community college but getting their own apartment, or they're going to a 4-year, or like us, in another state, and so you'll be away from like your family and like everyone that you know. That's the first step, preparing them for their living situation. Like some people, if they stay home, they might like have negative feelings about that, because the expectation for a lot of people is that you will go to a 4-year and live in the dorm. So I know like my friends that I knew that like stayed home, they kind of felt the type of way that they weren't going to like a 4-year university and getting the dorm experience. And then for me, especially going out of state, it wasn't just about leaving home. I had a ball not being at home. I had strict parents, so I had a ball being in a dorm, or going across the hall and knocking on somebody's door and I could just come right in. That was amazing for me. What I wasn't ready for is after a while, not having family and friends that you're so used to having easy access to. That was different for me, because like I had access to like friends, but they were new friends. So I'm like, at some point I started to miss like going to my grandma or my aunt's house, or my other friends from high school. It was weird seeing somebody 5 days a week to now, I catch you Christmas break. So that was something I had to get accustomed to. So preparing for the living situation is definitely something I would say is to talk about. Yeah, helping them navigate.
I love when you used to just come knock on the door and randomly come over.
I'll be outside there. I'm like, Ariana, what you doing? You're like, nothing, just studying. Okay, open your door.
That was honestly I really miss that about college. And it's funny because everybody's experience is different. Like back when my sister was going, she said people used to leave their door open.
Yeah.
Everybody. And then I remember I was expecting that my freshman year, and I'm like, why everybody door closed?
No, I had a sign on my door that was like, knock and say hi. And a lot of people did. Or they'll leave their name on my board if I wasn't there.
That's
and then I'll go there. Yeah.
I like that method. That's something to tell your kid about. I mean, teach them about, danger. But yeah. I like that. Because that's so open.
Yeah. But that's definitely one thing. What's another thing?
The first thing I thought about was plugging your children the right people and the right resources, because I feel like college and preparing for it is so ambiguous. It's like it's so many different things to think about. It's like you got to think about the finances, which you did mention earlier. Think about the finances, and then thinking about like what's safe, what's not safe. It's just so ambiguous. I feel like knowing who to have them talk to, and then you got like the school counselor, and it's like even FAFSA, like that's something to think about, and then like just helping them with their day-to-day life. Like if you have the funds, if you have the relationship with your child and you have the funds, I feel like possibly trying to be with them there a couple days can maybe help them like with the day-to-day transition for a little bit. And that'll probably be before classes start. I don't know, it depends. But
I would say that's another thing. Whatever college they plan to go to, meeting with like the academic advisor. Definitely college tours. I did not tour A&M before I attended A&M. I had never even been in the state of Alabama. I just knew I needed to get out of Michigan. And every college I had applied for was indeed in Michigan. And it was like April when I applied for A&M. It just went. That was a special case. And also building a strong relationship with your child before they leave for college. Because I've seen a lot of parents like say like, oh, my child went to college and like they barely call me, or I only see them
and
on
that speaks
holidays. Yes, like how you treat your children before they leave will definitely show when they become an adult and be on their own. You'll like see that. So building a strong relationship or even if something happens to them or they experience something while they're away in college, that you have the trust and relationship already built, that they're comfortable telling you and keeping you inside of the things that's going on in their life, or you will feel very excluded. And once they're an adult and they're like on their own, you can't really force them, or they don't rely on you as much, so they're not as obligated to have that relationship. It sounds bad in a way, but when you're like child, it's like under your roof and they rely on you. How you treat them in that period will show back up when they're on their own and they don't need you more so, because how they need you financially or like living wise is important, but sometimes people neglect how they need you emotionally, and that will come back up to show later in life when they don't need you in the other two ways. Not that they don't need, but like they're more independent. I should say they're more independent. When they're more independent, how they need you emotionally will change, and you will see it.
And have them on a common app too, so they have options. And I feel like a lot of concerns with parents is safety. Oh, my kid is so far away from them. So far away from me? What if something happens? So I feel like with that, one way you can. This is more. The question was how to prepare your kid for college, but I feel like because a lot of parents think about the safety, like now I'm starting to think like you can provide them with like speed dial numbers. You make sure you familiarize yourself with like the safety on and around campus. So you can say, okay, if this ever happens and you don't trust me, this is what you need to call, who you need to call, whatever the case is. And build your own relationships with people down there. So you trust somebody, or can at least attempt to trust somebody, try to get a relationship with somebody that could be down there near your child. I feel like that's kind of an answer to a different question, but I'm just thinking about like, how do we prepare our kids for college? Which y'all really, and I feel like what y'all are really thinking about is really,
come on, Samir, lock in.
How can they be safe? Like I feel like that's, I don't know.
Going off earlier of how to help prepare your child for college. Preparing them for failure. My first time ever failing was in college. And I took it hard as somebody who never failed before. That was a first for me. I had never I was
Parenting to fail.
I was that student that used to get, if I did get a bad grade, it was a D. So like going to college and failing the class.
So how would you say they could like prepare their kid to fail? Like, would that be them like letting go at some point in time, or if let's say their kid do get a bad grade, they like teach them how to handle that?
I would say that because some parents are very hard on their children when they get a bad grade. It would depend on how someone navigates that. I can't really like say I didn't even tell my mom I got a bad grade. I faked it. I was faking it till I made it. Not gonna lie, but definitely not being too hard on them. It's one thing to like fail every class.
Sorry, I shouldn't have laughed.
You know, and then I was like, I don't even know how I got through it because I did not tell my mom. That's another thing, building the relationship. She did not know about a lot of things that went on in college. But
in order to be at the top, somebody got to be at the bottom.
There's no way.
You need to decide
First class
if your child. Actually, no, you don't get to decide that really, but your child is the one that's going to decide if they're going to be at the bottom or the top. Are they going to be the taxi driver, or are they going to be coming out of JP?
What you talking about? But sometimes I had it in the class where I genuinely was trying. I would take a test and I'm like, there's no way I got less than 80. I get a 4%.
No! Please stop. Well, it's okay.
Because you really can't try. And it's like you're learning something for the first time. So it's like you kind of don't know you're wrong. And you'll be so confident. I used to be so confident. And it's crazy because the tests or stuff that I wasn't confident in, it would be like, oh, you got an 85%. I did? I thought I was going to get an 85%.
No.
But I'm like, I was like, oh, there's no way I got less than an A. And I'll come out with a D. So sometimes you really don't know that you're
statistics.
You can really be trying and still fail. True. And it's like you tried your best. Your best was not enough.
But when I said the taxi driver, what I meant was like everybody, if everybody was great, the bar would be changed. So like all this stuff about try to make your essay unique and make sure what's the other thing that we said, and make sure like you're doing programs and stuff like that. Imagine if everybody did, then what would be the new bar? Like then what would be the thing then?
Go to outer space.
So that's why I'm like,
and I'm gonna do it.
So your child is going to decide, well, I don't want to make it sound that simple because you know how we are raised and our actual adversity and things that have happened to us, you know, can mess us up for the rest of our life. But basically, at some point, we decide who we're going to be to some extent. If you know, we might have control. We have control to some extent. So we're going to decide: are we going to be? That's what I mean. Like, are we going to be Carrie Underwood, or are we going to be the taxi driver that we picking up? We picking her up.
Okay.
Like, but we need taxi drivers. That sounds crazy, but it's like, oh my god.
I get what you're saying.
I don't want it to sound bad.
Okay, but also what I was going to say of like how you saying how do you prepare your child for failure? I feel like in the process, or like some people, or like just doing those things. So say preparing them for failure, it's like if they apply for scholarships, they're not going to get every scholarship they apply to. They may, but some people, they're not going to get accepted to every college that they apply to. And so like they'll process that, or like the scholarships, they won't get every scholarship they apply to. Or if they're in sports, they won't win every game. They may just, but you know, it's like or they're in a robotics competition, or just different activities and stuff that they normally do in school, or they're part of a team. The team won't always win. So that kind of helps prepare them for failure. Like, yeah, you did put your all into that essay. You worked really hard on the application, and they still chose someone else to win it. So that's kind of preparing them for failure. That's really not failure per se.
I feel like it is.
It's failure.
It's failure, but it's like I don't think any failure is like all failures. I feel like are battles, not war. So it's like it's still failure, but they can get back up from that. but it still failed you. So my mom said, going back to how to prepare your child for college, my mother said make sure you have your taxes together. Have your tax return. Make sure you have it ready because you're gonna need it for FAFSA, and then tell your kiddos to write down their login information or something. Keep up with it because it's annoying to have to reset that, and you get locked out your account after 2-3 tries. So, what resources are available for parents and students during the college preparation process? I feel like starting off with the school counselor, where kids are going to school. You said
And where they already attend school. Like high school, I love my high school counselor.
That's
I used to do my applications in her office.
Yeah, I feel like that's good. And also, it's like programs. You know, I can't speak for every area, but I know Detroit has so many resources. And we were both in midnight golf. Woo, 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 woo.
I had a lot of pre-college programs. I was in about 4 different pre-college programs, and honestly, I got something from all of them.
So I feel like
definitely that.
Really plugging them with somebody like that, and that also goes into how can you prepare your kids for college, but also the resources and all of that. Putting them in programs, whether that's in 9th grade, 8th grade, putting them in the right programs, especially if you're in Detroit, put them in some of those free programs. Like Leaders of Tomorrow, I love Leaders of Tomorrow, and then like we already said, we was both in midnight golf. So that's something.
Scholarships. There's a bunch of different scholarship websites. If your high school is connected to scholarships, your college, some colleges have their own scholarship portals where they already funnel a bunch of scholarships or even private ones too. Trying to see, or if your school has a writing center, so when you write those applications, because I'm not gonna lie, I wrote about 2 essays off of a community service project, my build on project where I went to Africa. That thing led me, that was my warrior horse into almost most of my applications.
Definitely recycle your essays, but don't get too comfortable recycling, because then when you got to start from scratch, your brain didn't get enough practice. But I love recycling.
Make every application unique. Come on, go.
And really a quick Google search could be helpful. So like if you go on Google and you search like what are steps I need to what are steps I need to apply for college, or what are these, like you can look at that and help your kid with it. Or you can Google what are some people I can call. Like even talking to other college students can help, or people who have been to college. Especially maybe fresh out, like that's probably really helpful. So one thing my mom mentioned, my mom pretty much said the same thing that we said, but in her talking, I heard her say alumni chapter. So I want to say, but if you know what school your child is going to, you get involved with the alumni chapter and get them involved in the alumni chapter. And then I feel like everything goes back to your relationship with your child. Because if you don't have a good relationship with your child, they're basically already independent mentally. Like at the end of the day, they're gonna do what they want to do. I feel like your opinion may not influence them that much. But then I know some people who don't have the best relationship and their opinion still influence them. I've seen it, but there's some college challenges students face when transitioning to college life.
I mentioned earlier their living situation changing. Oh. Come on.
Books. Finances was probably the biggest challenge for me. And the book scholarship was like $250, and I still had to come out of pocket. But at the time, I didn't know that I don't gotta buy all these books on the list. So that was my biggest challenge. I wasn't homesick and I think a part of why I wasn't homesick was because I was in programs where we traveled. I've been to states that my mom hasn't been, and I've been without her because I've been in programs. So there's been multiple times in my life where I was away from home. So I feel like going to college wasn't nothing, and it was nice anyway. And then maybe like roommates, like that might be a common challenge, like roommate issues and dating.
I would say discipline.
Oh, yep.
Discipline. Because some people when they're at home, like. You're late for high school, your parents might wake you up, or they might make you breakfast, or they might do something for you. you in your dorm or your apartment, it's your job to get up. You know that assignment's due at 11:59. Don't try to start at 11. Or you try to say, oh, my Wi-Fi went out. Teacher's gonna say, professor, they're big on that. They're gonna say, well, I gave this assignment a week ago. You had more than just tonight to do it. Why didn't you submit it throughout the whole week? You know, so that, oh, my Wi-Fi went out at 11:30. That's not gonna. If you know your phone bill is due Thursday, don't think you going out Wednesday and spend all your money on drinks and then be surprised by your phone off by Friday.
Yes. How can parents support their children during this transition period?
I think it's very important just showing up simply in the first place, like when they do their college tours or going through their admission checklist and figuring out what they need, just to have their parents there supporting them. That is a big step, because a lot of times when you want support, you're going to look around for your parent, or basically just being there, because a lot of times your child's going to look for you for insight and help with things, and that also helps build that relationship and the trust for when they do go off. It was like you were already there in the beginning process, and so that helps. Just them feeling secure enough that you're already there, and that helps with them keeping you in the loop of what they're experiencing while they're away in college. That's a big step.
I second that. I definitely second that, because showing up, it's like, it sounds so simple, but it's so challenging for some people. Well, let me not say challenging. Some parents just don't do it. Some of y'all just don't do it. So I feel like showing up is a big deal, like, and it's easier if you have already formed that relationship. It's not gonna happen overnight. You can't expect your child to tell you if something bad happened to them the first month or if something amazing happened to them the first month when you just started working on the relationship the week before they left for school. So like, really, their entire life you need to already be working on that relationship. When they're in college, oh, like in high school, you need to work on that relationship. Being honest with your child. Like, if your child is asking you questions, don't close them off but then be mad when they don't talk to you 2 years later and try to ask you questions. Like, be open to sharing your experiences, explaining like what may have happened to you or things that you noticed. But also don't be a helicopter parent. Like, and don't be upset if your child doesn't follow your advice, because advice is literally just that. It's advice. They're not automatic, especially at this stage in their life, they're not automatically supposed to like just do everything that you said. Oh, I said that you needed to do this. I said that you needed to do that. They're going to end up making some mistakes, and it sucks, because sometimes as parents, I mean, some things make sense and they may not understand it makes sense at the time, but it's like there's only so much you can do. Like, that's one thing, like, you can't control everything. So at some point it's going to be something that they make on their own. But I think just showing up, making yourself available and showing up. So even if it's a, hey, I just want you to know I'm here. You may not feel comfortable enough with telling me something right now, but I want you to know I'm here. I'm not a family therapist, but I think when it comes to how you can support your child and creating that relationship, being honest with them, even if it's about your mistakes. If you messed up in doing something with them, or if you're like, being able to apologize, like, you know, so and so, or, you know, I messed up here, and I'm sorry that, you know, I was overbearing. In high school, I was truly concerned about your safety, so, you know, and that's all I was thinking about, and I didn't let this happen, but I want to work on that, and I want to work on our relationship, and da 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 da. That alone could be helpful. But if you said that multiple times, they might not trust you. Like, and if you got that many issues, you might need to see a family therapist. You might. But I think all in all, showing up is a great start to supporting them. Because some ways to support people is asking them what they want and what they need. Have you ever had it where like somebody supported you? They thought they were supporting you, but they really weren't. But that was because they were doing what they thought you needed instead of just asking. So I feel like just don't do what you think they need. Now some things I feel like you can do without telling them, such as saving your money for them. You can do that without telling them. Some stuff.
Because I would say, like, off of that, or like how you were saying, like, like how you said that sometimes you may give your children advice and they won't take it. I feel like the matter of that, it's like, you know, as even from like the moment you're born, you're experiencing life for the first time. And so, like, you might take advice or hear advice. Okay, go ahead. You might hear advice from someone, but you're not sure if it's the right thing to do because you're still trying to figure it out because you're experiencing it for the first time. So it's like, I know some adults are like, oh, I've already done this, so you should just like trust what I say because like I know because I've been through it, but the person you're trying to tell the advice to hasn't been through it. So it's like we're probably anxious or like questioning everything. So it's like something to consider, but we're still unsure. So sometimes people make their own decisions based off the information that they have. So even though you gave them advice, they can't always take it off the information you have because it's just you're experiencing things differently.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know if I'm like, oh, I don't know if I should get an apple or orange. And you're like, oranges are better. I've had good experiences with oranges. Well, I have no experience with oranges. I could choose the orange because you had a good experience. But I'm like, what if I could take the apple? The apple might be good. I might like the apple even though you didn't. It's like, I don't know.
And also, I feel like experience is not solid enough.
Yeah.
For example, in that example, it didn't sound like the person tried an apple. So, oh, I experienced orange and oranges are great. You keep going back to oranges because that's all you've ever experienced. So now you're telling your kids to go to oranges because that's all you've ever experienced and you had a good experience. But let them try the apple. They might like it.
Because apples are the slap.
Yeah. So I feel like people do that. Oh, I had this experience. Or like, oh, somebody had one bad experience. Oh, I lived in Alabama for 2 years and I was sexually assaulted. So now I'm not gonna tell nobody to go to Alabama ever again.
Or like my mom, she stayed home for college. I knew I didn't want to stay home. I wanted to go on the campus. I'm like, you've been strict to me my whole time growing up. I do not want to stay home. And I'm like, I know you stayed home and you did college the way you did it, but I know I want to go out. You didn't lock me in this house all this time. I do not want to stay here. So I'm like, I'm glad you had your experience and enjoyed staying home.
Damn.
I've been home and you've been locking me up in this house. I'm going away for college.
And also, I feel like people take advice based on the capacity of their understanding. So like, even when you do give advice, there are some people that will blindly follow if they trust you enough. But at the same time, I don't really know how to explain that. But basically, I think when we have a certain understanding or a level of understanding, there are certain things that we will not be able to see, even if the other person is right. How do you balance or get out of your baby being your baby, but also them being a real adult who should make their own choices? She said as they grow up, you need to give them the ability to make more choices. Or you can give them advice, but basically they'll be doing it themselves. Example sounds like a reminder, like, oh, make sure you get that letter recommendation done. But don't do it for them.
Or like, yeah, them making choices. Or like, if you go out to buy them clothes, like, oh, what do you want to wear? Or what's your style? Like helping them form their identity. Like, what do you like to do? Or like even responsibility with bills. Like if you pay their phone bill, like give them the money for their phone bill.
Oh, that's, yeah.
And then let them go online and make the payment. Now if they take that money and don't make the payment, that phone gonna be off. You gotta stick it through. Don't go pay that phone bill.
That's a good start. She said when they get their summer job, don't let them completely spend their money on their own. Some kind of way advise them. You say put some in your bank account, but if you want to spend this amount, you could. I think it's interesting that my mom said that because my mom literally didn't count my coins. I mean, I only worked in the summer, but also my mom trusted me. She knows how I am with money, so I don't think she ever felt the need. I think we have to understand that every child is different, so what works for one child is not going to work for the other. But also as children, we need to understand that too, because I feel like sometimes it might look like favorites, but in reality, it's like, well, that person needed that. Like, oh, well, I don't know how to handle my finances, so that's why they not counting so-and-so pockets, they count mine.
Because I was going to say budgeting, Because I learned about budgeting from a budgeting course that I took with a youth program. A lot of people, or like, I don't know, you know how you have those moments and you're just like, why wasn't I taught this? Like, that's one of those things. Like, I wasn't really taught budgeting by my parents. Like, I learned it in an academic course. But a lot of people always like talk about how they didn't realize like the value of $1, I would guess. Or they're like, I've seen like some parents say like, oh, my kids take like things I buy for them for granted. But as far as like a lot of children are concerned, things just appear. Like, yes, you make it happen, and that's something to be grateful for, but they don't understand the value like of money, like until they work and they're like, I make $12 an hour. It takes an hour to make $12. And this shirt I just bought was $40.
But work and have bills. Because I feel like when you work and you're growing up, that disposable income is big. It might be more than your own parent.
Because as far as they're concerned, there is no rent. They just come home. As far as they're concerned, there is no phone bill. They just on TikTok.
Some kids out here making the same amount as somebody and daddy.
Exactly.
And keep it to themselves.
So it's like learning the value of $1. So then when they do want to go out and buy things, they realize it doesn't just appear. It comes out of someone's account, their parents. So when it starts coming out of theirs, they're not surprised.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I did learn like the stress of work and like the value of money younger on, like early in life. But like, even when I started paying my phone bill, I was like $50. I think I was making like $10 an hour. I mean, you gotta tell me I gotta work 5 hours to afford this, and then taxes, so really 7 hours. Yeah, you're crazy.
So one thing I want to add about how can you get out of your baby being your baby. So my mom said what she said, but I think it starts the moment you give birth. I mean, by this point, you're watching this video, your kid is probably already like going to college. But like, you have to retrain your mind. If you are struggling with your baby not being, like still being your baby, but being an adult, repetition can help. And repeating to yourself that your child is their own. Your job was to raise them, still be there as a support. Like, you're still a parent and they're still your child, but they're their own person. They're making their own decisions. And like my mom said, I think it can be helpful or easier if you do start allowing them to make their own decisions prior to college. But even though I don't have an 18-year-old, like me just repeating to myself, like even before I got pregnant, I just remember reminding myself like my child will be their own person. All I can do is I can't control everything. Like almost like affirmations. Yeah. Like repeating certain things to myself, because I had a fear of having a child and then being that person. And so I think you should also catch yourself if you ever hear yourself saying, oh, my child will be this or my child will be that. Like, I think it's great to speak it into existence, but I think if you're going to speak it into existence, try speaking the character traits into existence. You know, let's hope that your son is actually a great human being. You know, I didn't want to.
This is getting very personal.
Just speak character traits into existence. Not so much, oh, they're gonna be a lawyer, a doctor. Especially if they still a butthole, please.
I know you're cutting this part out.
No, I'm adding the butthole part. Butt white. Maybe the whole part is, too much. But let's just hope that they're not a butt white. So,
or like you said, speaking the characteristics and like building them into certain characteristics, like responsible. Yes. Like give them little tasks so they can learn responsibility, or like discipline. Like teach them about timeline, deadlines, and being accountable.
And then also don't knock yourself down if they still don't have those qualities, because all you can do is play your part. Really, they're gonna end up being whoever they want. I'm not the type. I'm not gonna sit here and say you was a bad parent if they end up being a person that sucks. But focus more on the character traits. At the end of the day, they might not want to go to college. I mean, you watching it probably because they will, but they might not want to. They might not want to live in North Dakota with you. They might not want to. They're going to make their own decisions, and that's okay. So just try to, speak that. And if you are a religious person, I would definitely say pray about it. Try to get with other groups related to your religion. Try to meet up with other parents.
Because you can pray, but if you don't put the action behind it, don't be surprised.
Yeah. So you gotta do both. And I feel like therapy is always great. This is not a therapy session, as much as I wish I could offer more tips, but you may have to seek outside help. What strategies can your kids use to succeed academically in college?
I would say networking. As somebody who was very socially stunted, because I was not good with talking or like having certain conversations. I was very socially awkward. Trying to network and like build relationships that way is very important, and I had to like learn how to do it, just because like being brought up by strict parents and I wasn't granted much of a social life. When you get to college, the social life and the networking matters, and as somebody who had to learn how to do it, I feel like it greatly put me behind, because it's like I had to learn from square one how to initiate a conversation, how to hold a conversation, like how to keep engaging in it. And I was like really shy, and you have to like go up to people and like have personality and be energetic and build those professional relationships with, whether it's counselors, professors, your colleagues, other students, or people from the corporations that come for career day and stuff. You have to build those relationships. And I would say even with like me being behind, I didn't get as many connections as I would have liked to, but even with the handful of strong connections I was able to make, it did take me a lot further than if I would have tried to do everything with no connections at all. So that's very important. Learning how to communicate and be professional, and like how to show up professionally, whether it's in your attire, how you shake a hand, your tone when you speak, the topics you choose to speak about. All of those things, that's very important.
So the next one is, how can parents encourage their children to prioritize academics while in college?
I had it where someone told me you get $50 for every A you get back.
Extrinsic motivation. I forget what the word is, but basically it's me when your motivation comes from things like those type of incentives. Like, I think you have to know what type of kids you have, because if that's what works for them, that's what works for them. I feel like a part of encouraging them is, I think everything goes back to that relationship. You gotta have that relationship with them to begin with. But to me, I look at it like encourage them to prioritize their academics is by being honest with them about, like, you might mess up. Oh, you got a D? Okay, well, let's dive into this. Like, why did this happen? That would be my method that I'm thinking of initially. Like, I'm almost being like their counselor. Like, okay, you got a D. Let's dive into this. Why do you think you got that D? Was it that you were possibly out? Like, talk to me. Let's figure this out. To me, that's my way that I would think to encourage.
Or even congratulating them when they do succeed.
Ooh, yeah.
Be there for if there's any failures, but also like be there if there is success.
Verbal praise is pretty good. And now that I'm thinking about it, like, I probably would offer incentives too.
Because acknowledgement goes a long way.
My mom did mention, she recommended going to the writing lab on campus. Or it might be called something else, somewhere else, writing studio, writing lab, writing center. Going there to seek some help in terms of your academics. I love the writing center at Alabama A&M. I liked it a lot better than the one at Michigan. And even the one at Michigan, I didn't go to the overall University of Michigan's writing center. I only went to like the one for my program. But Alabama A&M, I don't know if she's still there. Like, well, I know Ariana, she graduated, but I don't know if I forget her name. She has a PhD in English. She is wonderful, amazing. I'm not about to get into that whole spiel, but I'm gonna just leave it one word: amazing. No, phenomenal, and leave it there. Financial planning. What are tips for parents and students to navigate the financial aspects of college?
I feel like it's good to do a breakdown of expected bills. Definitely like what bills pertaining to college, like how much are your books gonna cost, room and board, tuition. But I would chunk that with like scholarships and like financial aid planning. Outside of I would say it's important to figure out any financial obligations outside of academic, like phone bill, grocery budget, if they want to hang out with their friends, outing, budget for going out or movies, out for dinner. Let's be real, college students go to clubs sometimes, out for drinks, just any other like financial obligations.
I think
if they
that's
stay
smart.
off campus, rent, light bill, like just figuring out a budget for when they're alone. Because sometimes when you're off to college, I was in charge of my own financial like situation. If I needed money from my mom, people would like send me money if I really needed it. Most times I tried to always handle things on my own before I like went to my family. But that is a good start.
Jesus. I think I agree with what you said, and I also think within that doing the budget, also going shopping together, so they can see, okay, this is what it's like to go shopping, and when you have to decide how do I want to save money, or these are the items, where it's like if you go shopping together, you might say, okay, we're in Bath and Body. These are the items I'm not going to try to save money on. Like certain things, I feel like we grow up a certain way, so we're used to that. So that's what I imagine. Like, okay, we're not about to use this $1 soap, but we will use this. But we may save money on bleach by going here to get it instead of here. So things like that, just going shopping together, so they can kind of see that. And if you aren't familiar, or if you know you aren't good at handling your own finances, seek some outside help for both of y'all, man. And y'all can do it together.
I feel like that goes into like the life skill teachings. So like couponing,
it is.
I learned how to coupon off social media, or like even grocery shopping. One thing that helped me is like growing up, we went grocery shopping monthly, but what helped me is going grocery shopping weekly. Or like some people go bi-weekly, but I like to get what I would want to eat throughout the week. That way it's like less food waste. That helps. Yeah. Or even just life skills of like laundry detergent. A lot of people use way too much laundry detergent, like especially being an RA and having overflows of the washing machine in the laundry room. Like some people I've seen a resident use 2 cups of laundry detergent for one load, when the recommended is apparently a tablespoon. Or even 2 if you like the scent to be in there. But like a lot of people think laundry detergent is expensive because they're using way too much of it. And so of course you have to buy more constantly because it's a large use of it. So just those like life skills of like what products to get, couponing to get it. How much of this should I be using for like the proper usage? Stuff like that.
Yeah. And I wanted to add what my mother said. So she said that if you are, she brought up scholarships. So she said if you're starting scholarships in 12th grade, this is me paraphrasing because I don't remember what she said word for word. But if you're starting in 12th grade, you're already pretty much too late. Well, not necessarily too late, but it's best to like start early on. There are some scholarships that are for 9th graders, 10th graders. So work on your scholarships early on. Look at the scholarships. Scholarships could be a whole nother video. But applying for scholarships early on, that can help with finances, preparing both of y'all, because it saves you money if you were going to help them. That's what she mentioned.
And also remembering that you could apply for scholarships even after you begin college. So even after your freshman year, you could apply for scholarships all the way through college, no matter your classification. Even when you're finished with college, if you still they have scholarships for people who even completed college, but you may still have a balance or like still have loans. It's a lot less of them, But or if you're continuing your education, you can still get scholarships for that. I would say if possible, start when you can start them off young. Just say throughout their lifespan, or what's it, a 529 savings plan for college. That's a college fund. Or even if it's late, it's never too late to start saving for the college. One thing that also helps is I know some people went to community college first, which is less expensive, and then they transfer to a 4-year institution. Some financial situations, like the income to the bill or spending ratio, doesn't allow for saving. What was I gonna say? So that's kind of like where scholarships and stuff come in at. Grants, private scholarships. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like scholarships is the best bet, because saving money is great. Like, you do need to know how to save your money, and I think everybody needs financial literacy. But also, it doesn't matter how much of a saver you are, and it doesn't matter. Saving doesn't matter if you aren't bringing in money.
Right. You gotta have the income to save. And some people genuinely can't save.
Yeah. So I think scholarships is the best bet for that. Wellness and mental health. What are some common mental health challenges college students face, and how can parents support their children's well-being?
For some people, college, like me, it's the first time that I failed. So a lot of people have that stress of like failing for the first time. And I would say one way a parent can help is, like we said earlier, building that relationship and trust beforehand. Like, so when they're experiencing their things, you will be in the loop of what they're experiencing, and they'll also be comfortable coming to you for like that comfort and support. Also, therapy helps. Using the health and wellness services on campus. You don't always have to wait till something gets bad or dire before you seek mental health. Checking in with yourself, with your parents, checking in with your therapist, or because it doesn't have to be bad or something like that's an emergency for you to go to counseling services.
Exactly. Don't wait until you. Yeah. Counseling, I look at counseling as a way to prevent issues. I'm not going to wait until I have issues, even with marriage. I'm not about to wait until I have issues to make sure we're right. So I think going to counseling is proactive as opposed to reactive, and you want to make sure you're proactive with your child. So I think educating yourself on suicide awareness, educating yourself on mental health. There might be like some free resources online, like some trainings. That's how I would word it, like trainings where you don't get a certificate, but you looking into that so you can learn how to look out for signs that your child may be suicidal, your child may be going through something. And I'm kind of more focused on the negative side of it, because I would hate for that to be ignored if something was to happen. So look into educating yourself on those signs and symptoms, mental health in general, how to talk to people. You got to remember, like, even though your child is your child and you are a parent and y'all have different roles, you still should not be talking to your child any kind of way. Your child is a human being, and now they're grown adults. So you have to, like, I'm trying to make sure I'm not talking to them crazy, but they're a grown adult now. So being considerate when you have those conversations, and always, like, don't have the mindset of, well, I went through this and I was a first gen and my child a second gen, they got it easy. I was a first gen and my dad used to abuse me and I still made it through college, and I did this and I had a boyfriend that was like this and still got straight A's, and none of that matters. None of it matters. What your child goes through, your child is a different person than you. So their limits may be different, and you shouldn't want them to go through the same things you went through. So that's great that they didn't go through the same things, but now you help them with the problem that you don't see as a problem. That's their problem. if they say it's a problem, that's a problem to them. You can't I mean, you could not validate them, but I wouldn't suggest that. Like, validating them is one way to support them, but so all in all, I would say educating yourself, validating them, and being genuine about it. If you truly, I don't like fakeness, so I feel like if you actually don't have in your heart to validate them, then don't. But also, don't be upset when you don't have that relationship with them, because you, outside of you being a parent, y'all will have beef. Like, I mean, parents and kids still have beef. But like, I've had the thought process before, like, if we was the same age, you would not be my friend. Like, I had that same thought process before. If we met at 19, we would be beefing right now. Like some parents treat their friends differently than they would treat their own child.
I can't stand when parents be like, I'm not one of your little friends. I know.
What resources are available for students who may be struggling with mental health issues? The counseling services online. Always check your insurance, the insurance that your parents have. Looking into like free support groups, even if it's virtual. And also like not giving, it might be easier said than done, but try not to give up. Because sometimes, like, you might not like the first therapist you have. You might not like the one on campus, but there are more out there. So I would just say keep trying at it until you find somebody you like. And that can be tiring, depending on how many times you gotta keep trying. But it's a resource on campus.
I was just gonna say, putting energy into your mental health before it becomes an emergency.
Oh,
kind of like you mentioned already. Don't wait till it becomes bad or something that escalates before you put effort into making it better, basically.
Yeah. So let the kiddos know.
And also watching, as far as students, well, for anybody in general, like observing the people that you have around you and the situations that you're in. Because at one point, the people that I was socializing with and was calling my friends, I ended up realizing they were not my friends. And after not socializing with them, I realized that my own mental health became better.
And I feel like parents have had that experience too. So I feel like you being honest about that when you are having these conversations with your kids. First of all, having the conversations with your kids to begin with, I think should happen. Like just in general, like growing up. Because sometimes, like, there's different types of learning. There's observational learning. That's the only one I can think of. But it's different types of learning. So some people can learn without having had the experience themselves. So if you was willing to say, as a parent, you know, I just want to let you know, or I don't know how these conversations happen. I'm like a liberal person, so I'm in the middle. But I'm down for like having them open conversation. Let's talk about it. It's no taboo. Two things from this whole video that we want you guys to take away. It is, okay, so one of my two things is remember about that relationship. Start working on building that relationship. And honestly, I'm hoping that you as a parent are watching this video before senior year, because it's gonna take some time if you really want to be more thorough. And then the second thing is work on like unlearn and learn again. I feel like that's ambiguous enough to cover multiple things, but what I'm really thinking about with that is when you have to unlearn in terms of your kid being your kid, but also allowing them to be an adult, like unlearn some of the things that is embedded in us or in you, if it applies to you. Those are the first two things that I thought about right now.
And remembering that your child is experiencing life for the first time, so they're making decisions based off all this new information and everything that's very new to them. And sometimes they will mess up, sometimes they will fail, but just navigating, being that support system for them, giving them advice, leading them throughout the way, but still allowing them to be their own person and make their own decisions and learn from their mistakes.
Thank you.
Then make every essay unique.
Oh yeah, when you said make every essay unique, it made me think about those movies where they be like trying to go to Harvard or Yale, and they sitting in the consular office and they was like, oh yeah, your grades are amazing. You got a 4.0, da da da. But that's it.
Yeah.
Like, you have no substance to yourself. You have a 4.0. First of all, I always felt like I had one encounter with this girl. No names. But she had a 4.0. I didn't have a 4.0. I think I had like a 3.4, 3.5. And it's funny because my first 4.0 was in college and grad school. I was so proud of that. But in high school, I had never had a 4.0. And I remember the girl was like, she had said something about not having like a 4.0, and she's got this 4.0, and oh my gosh, she's college. And I remember thinking, and I didn't say this to her, or at least I don't think I did, or maybe I said it, like made implications, but basically I always felt like if you aren't in any programs, you better have a 4.0, because all you do is go to school. If you're not on the debate team, if you're not doing one of those Detroit programs we talked about after school, you should have a 4.0. I mean, outside of your personal circumstance, because maybe you have a job where you help pay the bills at your mom's or your dad's house. So yeah, in those instances, of course that's going to interfere with your grades or mental illnesses. But if you have like this amazing life or this perfect life and all you do is go to school, yes, I expect you to have a 4.0. Sorry. But that's what I thought about when you had said like make it unique, because I thought about all of that and like the shows where they be like, okay, you need to do something. You ain't never had any adversity in your life, and this essay shows that. Like, I don't know.
I would say that's another thing. Like, sometimes it's not all about GPA. You should have like special projects or community service. Like, I had over 1,000 hours of community service from sophomore to senior year. But I'm like, I had hundreds of community service hours earned each year. I really did enjoy doing it. But just special projects, whether you, because my thing was I did build on, I did my track. I like partnered with a sexual health organization to like advocate for HIV and STI awareness. I did community gardens and nursery work. What Samir said, work with community gardens. What else did I do? I did a lot. I did robotics. I was in everything. So I had a pretty strong application. I worked with a community youth organization that helped youth across Detroit get jobs. A drug abuse program. I had a strong application. So I didn't have the worst GPA. I had a 3.5. That's something to say. I didn't have a 4.0, but I had a 3.5 and a pretty high SAT score on top of all my community service. So all of that stuff mattered. But
Samir, stop it. Why am I not grabbing him? Oh my God.
She done slung the baby.
Angela, come get your nephew. Why aren't you here? Lord.
He robbing.
Oh my gosh,
Beyonce's a therapist too.
Look, I was like, look, she's a therapist. You like, what you laughing at? Yeah.